All right, diving right in today. It seems like everywhere you turn, it's AI this and AI that, but we're going deeper. Looking at how this tech is shaking up something pretty fundamental, how organizations are actually run, the whole governance thing.
Absolutely.
And we've been digging into a pretty insightful document. It's called the Boardroom Challenge Towards Smarter Governance. Really rolls off the tongue, right?
It does, yeah.
And the big question we're tackling for all you listeners out there is, how can companies, maybe even yours, really figure out how to integrate AI into their governance, make smarter decisions, but also avoid the potential pitfalls?
Right, because as our source material points out, AI isn't just like another software program you install. This is a fundamental shift in how things are done. We're talking about the potential for much faster decision making, automating all sorts of processes. But that comes with, a whole other side of the coin, a whole new set of risks that need to be managed.
Yeah, new tech, new problems, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And the document really emphasizes this. Even with the most sophisticated, most advanced algorithms, human understanding is still absolutely essential.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. The document actually lays out three key imperatives. I like that word, imperatives. These are must-haves for good AI governance. The first one it talks about is establishing a really strong framework. Basically, without clear rules and guidelines, AI can actually destabilize an organization. Makes you think a little, right? Letting this powerful tech run wild without any guardrails.
Right, exactly. And that's what the framework is for. It's about establishing those principles, the boundaries, the rules of the road, so to speak. The source really emphasizes that without this, you risk unpredictable outcomes. The second crucial point they make is about training leadership. And this isn't about, AI coming in and replacing the CEO. It's really about making sure that leaders understand how AI works, what it can do, what it can't do, and how to effectively steer it in the right direction.
Right, so it's less about replacement and more about, kind of redefining those roles.
Exactly, yeah.
Really interesting. Now, the third imperative is all about managing risks, the risks that come along with AI. The document specifically calls out how AI can, take existing biases in data and actually amplify them, make them worse, or it can lead to decisions that are just totally out of touch with the real world. That's a kind of a scary thought if you think about it.
It is. We've seen examples of this play out, where algorithms are trained on biased data and they end up perpetuating unfair outcomes. So good governance has to include ways to actively check for those biases and mitigate them. And then this point about being detached from reality, that's critical too, right? AI might identify patterns in data that are statistically significant, but if you look at them practically, they're nonsensical. They might even be unethical. You need human oversight to interpret that data and make sure it's being used responsibly.
Yeah, no robot overlords just yet.
Not yet, no.
Okay, so the document also brings up this idea of independent boards. It actually mentions some research suggesting that they can lead to more effective governance and better use of resources. But then it throws in this curveball saying that AI actually complicates this whole thing. So how does this play out, for our listeners out there in the real world? What do they need to be thinking about?
It's fascinating, actually, because what we see is that AI has this kind of dual impact on independent boards. On one hand, their objectivity can be a huge asset, when it comes to evaluating different AI strategies and making sure things are on the right track. But on the other hand, the speed at which AI operates, the complexity of the technology, it might demand a level of expertise that, frankly, not all boards currently have. So this raises a really important question for organizations. What kind of skills, what kind of knowledge do you need on your board in this new landscape? How do you keep up with the pace of change?
Yeah, because these things are moving fast. This ties into, a concept that the document calls Humint, which stands for human intelligence. And it's really about recognizing that AI governance isn't just about the algorithms themselves. It's about the whole human ecosystem that they operate within. We have to consider our own biases, our influences. All of that plays a role.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes people forget that, AI systems, they're designed by people, they're used by people. So naturally, they reflect human intentions and also potential shortcomings. And that's what effective AI governance is all about. It's about understanding those underlying human factors and how they interact with the technology.
And the document, it really, really emphasizes finding that sweet spot, that balance between what the AI is telling you and what your own intuition, your human intuition is saying. It's not about just blindly following the data. It's about using that data as a powerful input, but still using human judgment, human experience to guide the way.
Exactly. The goal here isn't to let AI dictate your strategy, it's to let it support your strategy.
Hmm.
Right, and that's where human insight comes in. A human insight brings in the context, the ethical considerations, the ability to interpret data in a way that considers the real-world implications.
If like AI is the engine and humans are the steering wheel.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy.
So to me, it seems like the real key here is how we manage the interplay between data, which AI is so good at crunching, and those human elements, the human as the document calls it. And it actually suggests that this is what really sets apart the truly visionary companies, the ones who are going to thrive in this new world.
I think that's absolutely right. In a world where we're just bombarded with data, the ability to understand and leverage those human aspects, that's what gives you a real competitive advantage. It allows for more nuance, more depth, and ultimately more effective decision making.
So listeners, as you navigate this new world of AI in the boardroom, here's the takeaway. A strong governance framework is absolutely essential. Leadership needs to step up. They need to evolve their understanding of this technology. You got to manage those risks head on, things like bias and that detachment from reality that we talked about. And don't forget that human element, that human. Ultimately, that's what's going to guide AI's impact on your organization's biggest decisions.
And as AI becomes even more powerful, which it inevitably will, think about this. How can your board proactively cultivate that the human intelligence that's needed not just to understand AI, but to ethically guide it, to shape it in a way that benefits your organization and the world around you? That's the real challenge and the real opportunity facing leaders today.
Food for thought, everybody.
Indeed.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.